So today we'll be talking about Chapter 16, Probability. The objective of this lesson is for students to leave the classroom being able to clearly identify and understand probability. So the definition of probability is the likelihood of an event occurring. Some everyday examples to kind of get the kids engaged would be, will it rain tomorrow? Or what are the chances we don't have class tomorrow? Things like that. I think it's kind of important to let the kids know when they will be using this in real life, not just you're learning this to take a test and that's it. So the probability of an event can be calculated by the probability formula by simply dividing the favorable number of outcomes by the total number of possible outcomes, which we'll go over more in a little bit. Some basic terminology from this chapter would be outcome is a possible result of an event. An event is a set of one or more outcomes, and simple space, which is kind of the same thing as an event, just a little more in depth, is a set of all possible outcomes of an experiment. For example, in a coin toss, the sample space would be heads and tails. Just like if you're rolling a dice, the sample space is numbers 1 through 6. So moving on from that, here are some examples that are kind of simple enough for these children to understand. I would give everyone a coin. So I would let everyone have a coin, and we would do a coin flip. And when you flip the coin, there are two possible outcomes. You would either get heads or tails. So the probability of getting either heads or tails is 1 out of 2, which can also be written as 1/2 or 50%. So we would get our coin and we would flip it, and you could kind of see I got tails. So the tails was 1 out of 2% chance of getting it. Another thing we could do is rolling a die. So if you roll a standard 6-sided die, there are a total of 6 possibilities that you could get. You could either get numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. And the probability of rolling one of those numbers, like what's the probability I roll a 3? That would be 1 out of 6. So we could do that with the class. Here is the probability formula that I picked out that they could just write down so they have it in their brains, and then we could go over it more later. And it is probability of an event occurring equals the number of ways it can occur over the total number of outcomes. So just to check for understanding, I'd ask a few different questions, but I think something fun that we could do is, what is the probability that all students will understand this assignment? We could count all the kids in the classroom, and for example, if there's 20 kids, we would say the probability of this is 1 out of 20. So yeah, and then we would move on to a more hands-on lesson, such as the one I turned in for Chapter 16.